Okay, I think we'll get started. Our main topic today is going to be Internet TV by myself, Tom Kreuzer. Before we get to the main topic, we'll go over some of the club. And we did, our last meeting was our annual picnic, July 18th, and these are a couple of pictures. If you haven't looked at the pictures, a link is out on the club website. We had a good turnout. And the weather was perfect, so I want to thank everybody that helped work on the picnic and everybody who showed up there. Hope everybody had a good time there. Future meetings, the next MAC-SIG meeting is Friday, September 21st. And if you're not familiar with the MAC, if you have an iPhone or an iPad or a Mac, it's worthwhile attending those. They usually don't set their agenda until a couple of days before the meeting, but they do have interesting topics, and they do meet monthly there. Our next meeting, the general meeting, is going to be on a Monday. So we try and keep it the third Wednesday of the month, but because we don't get priority for this room, we have to kind of go with what date's available, and this was the best date that we could get, Monday, September 17th. Our topic is going to be future device technology. So we'll talk about the future in general, what's happening with some of the different devices and what the future may look like a little bit there. Our officers, Jim Holman is our president up front there. Linda Brown is our vice president. I don't see Linda here. Paul Ebert in the front there is our membership secretary. Mike Griffin is our treasurer and MAC-SIG. Stan Miller is our secretary. Don't see Stan here. Andrew Petrucci is our communication coordinator. And my name's Tom Kreuzer. I'm a director at large. Members old and new, you can pay your dues to Paul. Just a reminder, if you are changing your emails or retiring from 3M, make sure to notify any of the board members or myself or Paul there so that we can get you changed on the database. So that's the way we keep in touch and send out notices is through the email. So we want to make sure we have your most current. If you do have any suggestions for topics, you can email them, talk to any of the board members. We're always looking for people to volunteer or present. Can be on hardware, can be on software, can be what you do at work or what you're doing at home. And if you don't want to present, we do have a monthly newsletter, the e-bites, and we're looking for anyone. You can write a short, meaning a sentence or two, or a long article for the e-bites. Out on our website, we do have past meetings, slides, and handouts, and most of the meetings we record, so the recording is also out there. So if you do miss one or want to revisit, you can go out there and take a look there. We do have a deals section. The monthly newsletter is also out there, and if you do have any questions for the e-bites newsletter or a favorite link or something that you ran into, certainly send it to me. And then this lists the website. It's also listed on the back of the handout there, so you can take a look there. Any club questions before we get to the main topic? Okay. Okay, our main topic today is Internet TV 2018. I think we last did it back in 2015, so things have changed a little bit since then. And the members were interested, so we put it back on the agenda and updated everything. Just before we start, let's take a quick poll and just see what everybody is using for TV today. How many people just have their antenna and are just watching the over-the-air channels with their antenna? So we've got a few with that. How many people have a Comcast Xfinity or a DirecTV, cable internet? So that appears to be the majority there. How many people do have streaming today? So they're using streaming services today. And again, you can have both because you may have Comcast and Netflix and various others. So it looks like we've got a mix there. But a lot of us certainly are sick of paying an arm and a leg for cable or satellite TV. The bills just keep going up every year, whether it's the services themselves or the devices or things like that. So many people are looking for ways to cut the cord. And when I gave this back in 2015, at that point I hadn't cut the cord. I was looking to cut the cord. And since that time, in February of 2017, the internet service in my area got upgraded to fiber, so I could get the speed, so that I could then get cut the cable and go to streaming services there. And I'll talk about that as we go through some of the decisions I made and what I have. Today there's many options with hardware. That's also influencing the quality, the reliability, and the cost. They're constantly changing and improving for the better. So if you don't do it today and you do it 6 months from now, there's going to be better stuff out there, both in terms of streaming services and the devices that you use to connect and use some of these things. There's no one solution that's going to be right for everybody. So what works for me, your viewing habits and the content that you want and how you watch, everybody's different. So you really have to identify your needs, and then you can find what devices and what services will give you what you want. But there's not one solution that's going to work for everybody. So you have people out there. I am on a number of bulletin boards and Facebook neighborhood sites, and people out there will say, well, I do this and everybody should do the same as me. Well, no, you just use Netflix, let's say, and that's all that person watches. Well, they don't watch local news or record local programs or things like that, and they may not watch any sports or anything live. So the needs of everybody is different there, and you really do have to see what you need to figure out what's going to be the best solution there. On average, canceling cable can reduce your TV costs anywhere from $40 to $100 a month. Now, you aren't going to get rid of the internet part. You're still going to need an internet connection, whether it's from a Comcast or from a CenturyLink, but the cable TV costs and the fees, because if you've ever looked at the bill, it's not just the cost of the package, it's the fees and the device rentals and all this stuff that add up to your monthly cost. In 2018, 5.4 million users have cut the cord. So because there's getting to be more and more of these services and devices and things like that, there's a lot of people that are starting to cut the cord, and that's got certainly the Comcast, the Dish Network, and the traditional providers really concerned there. That's a 685% increase compared to 2016. So people are doing it a lot more now. And as I mentioned, I cut the cord in February of 2017. There are some other details in the March 2017 e-bites for how I did it and what internet connection I have and some things like that. Quality. Quality varies depending on your internet service, your hardware devices, and the streaming service that you've used. So again, the quality, it's something that you have to figure out what your needs are, and then that'll determine all these other things. You should have fast internet speed to avoid buffering, and the buffering is the delay or the waiting for a picture to show up there, or a little arrow going around, spinning around, and the picture quality being kind of fuzzy and things like that. you want to have at least 5 megabytes per second for each high definition channel per user. So if you're a house with 3 TVs that you're going to have on at the same time, you're going to need at least 15 megabytes. Then if you want to do other stuff on the computer at the same time, you want to have some megabytes free for that. So you can see this second statement here. The FCC recommends 25 megabits per second for streaming service because most active households will need that kind of bandwidth there. Modem. Your modem, as you can see in this little diagram here, you have your internet connection coming in, you have a modem, and then you have your wireless modem, and all these parts have to be high enough quality and fast enough for you to get the quality that you're going to need there. And so if you've got a slow wireless router here, you're going to have a problem. If your modem is old, you're going to potentially have a problem. And if your internet connection is slow, you're going to have a problem. So everything has to be fast enough and strong enough there. For the Wi-Fi portion of it, if you are going to use Wi-Fi, the Wi-Fi minimum support you should have is 802.11n. And if you're buying a new router, which if you haven't bought a router in the last 2 or 3 years, you should buy a new router because the technology changes that fast. I recommend 802.11ac. AC also supports a concept called dual band, which doubles the speed to your devices. So you'll want to look at that. Again, if your devices and your needs need that kind of speed, you want to make sure that you have that. Another option is a wired connection. That'll always provide the fastest speed. So if I took a wire from my cable modem or from here, I'm getting the fastest connection that I can have there. And that'll give you the best speed and the best reliability that you can get. But it's not always possible for some people to run an Ethernet connection or to have their modem or that close to the TV. So you have to see what's available there. When we talked about Wi-Fi devices in the past and connections, we recommend that you buy your own modem and your Wi-Fi devices. Don't lease them from a Comcast or a CenturyLink because what you're getting there is, number one, you're usually paying quite a bit. So they may have a combination device that's a modem and a Wi-Fi router, and they're charging you maybe $10 a month for that. Well, over the course of the year, that's $120. Well, you could have bought your own Wi-Fi router for that and then be saving money year after year, 2, 3 years, 4 years maybe you get out of the modem, or 4 or 5 years out of the modem, and 3 or 4 years out of the Wi-Fi device. So if you keep it, you'll be saving yourself maybe $500 to $1,000 or more. And I mention in here separate so that you can don't get a combination modem and router, because the routers, the standards change, they get faster and so you want to upgrade your Wi-Fi router, and depending on how big or how small your house is, you can get by with routers that cost anywhere from $30 up to routers that maybe a couple $100 to give complete coverage to a big, huge house. You can see the past meeting, May 2017, on home networking. If your home network is old or you're not sure how well that might work. Now we'll talk about how some of this stuff gets connected. So on the back of your TV you have connections. Most people currently, if you bought a new TV and have a DVD player or a cable TV or that, you have an HDMI connection. And the HDMI connections are the newer connections. They support 1080p and 4K, which we'll talk about later. This computer connection isn't used much anymore, but it used to be able to plug in laptops and things like that. These RCA connections, that's what these are called, and these are old style connections which give you lower quality at a slower speed. S-video, same thing there. So when you look for connections or things like that, you want to have HDMI. The TVs, for those of us that are old, remember the old TVs where the aspect ratio was what was called 4:3. So every 4 inches across here, you had 3 inches down that way. So it was more of a narrower rectangle. The new widescreen, 16:9, you have more area to the left and to the right, so the picture area is bigger. It's actually 33% bigger than a 4:3 area there. So if you have an older TV, maybe now's the time to get a new TV to get the aspect ratio. Again, the old standards on TV, standard definition TV, 480i, which is interlaced. Sound quality was mono. Then this is even old. This is the old RCA type connection, 720p. That's progressive scan. Dolby 5.1. But even this isn't used much anymore. Most common is high definition TV, which is 1080p, and Dolby 7.1. You also have out there 4K, 4K TV, like the name sounds. It's 4,000 pixels as opposed to this is kind of 1,000 pixels. The trouble today is there is limited content out there available in the 4K and limited channels. So none of your over-the-air channels, if you get over-the-air, those are at the 1080p. Those are not 4K. Someday they might be 4K, but that would mean the TV stations would have to update their equipment. So they just updated to 1K, so it may be a while before stations ever do that. Whereas on the streaming side, you are seeing more content being available in the 4K. But again, there isn't that much available. Also, if you're not familiar, there are two types, HDR and Dolby Vision. So depending, again, if you do want the 4K and you're going to get a streaming service and the streaming service is HDR, you want to make sure that your device then is a 4K HDR, because if it's a 4K Dolby Vision, you're not going to get that higher quality. It's going to go default back to the lower quality. Also, 8K was introduced this year, so that was just introduced, the standard. The devices aren't out there yet, so it'll take a few years for the devices to get out there. But this is just to show you that no matter what you buy, it's planned obsolescence because the higher quality is always down the road a little bit there. 3D, that's kind of a novelty. There are a little bit of content out there and a few channels out there today, but there's not much in the way of 3D. That was going to be the next big thing 5 years ago or so, and it's kind of fizzled. So now let's talk about hardware devices that you use to do some of these things. Some of the options that you want to look at to figure out what you need. Again, you have to see what your needs are, and that'll help you determine what devices you might need. You'll see remotes out there that are voice remotes. So voice remotes, as opposed to going through a lot of menus or trying to type in to search for a particular movie or stuff like that, the voice remotes can make it much easier to find what you're looking for and navigate to it. We mentioned the quality. Certainly the devices vary by what they support, whether it's 1080p, 4K, HDR, and Dolby, and that. So you have to look what's supported there. The type of connections that it supports. What the Wi-Fi standard does it support, and does it support an Ethernet connection or a hardline connection coming in? So again, if those are things that are important for you or for your way that you want to have it set up, you have to look at the various what the various devices support. And then apps. The apps are the software that run on there, and the apps are going to get you to the content that you want that's out on the internet. Yes?
You know where the translation takes place from the voice remote? Does it happen to be in the remote itself, or is it just shipped up to the box and the box translates?
Almost all of them, it's shipped up to the box, ships it up to a central server, and the central server does the interpretation and the searching there. So the box is more or less a dumb box passing things along to the server. So the server is what keeps track of everything and translates and has the lookup and everything like that. There isn't a menu within your box just for you. It's a menu for everybody there. Okay? Okay, some of the options that you have for hardware devices is smart TVs. So the TVs, not only can most of the TVs today get the over-the-air broadcast and that, but they support one or more apps that can be loaded or come preloaded on the TV. And then these apps are used to connect to the streaming services. Smart TVs are out there. They usually are the least friendly in terms of remotes and things like that. So again, depending on what your needs are, they may work for you, or you may want to buy one of these other devices that we'll talk about. If you have a DVD player that you've gotten in the last few years, most of the Blu-ray DVD players do let you connect to streaming services like a Netflix and a limited number of other services. So you may already, if you have a DVD player, you may already have that capability if you don't have a smart TV. The current video game systems, Sony PlayStation, the Xbox, the Nintendo, those are like a computer, and they allow you to install apps on there and have memory and stuff like that. And so they can be used to get at the services that we'll talk about later here. Okay, now we'll talk about set-top boxes. And so if you're not using a smart TV or one of these other ways to connect, then you purchase one of these other set-top boxes. And we'll talk about the four major players, and the one that's rated #1 with the most sales, it has the most popular devices and support for the most services, is a Roku. And the thing I point out here is if you're an Apple person that is buying movies and shows from iTunes, this is not the device for you because it can't connect at all to the Apple services there. But you can see up here with the Roku, they have 5 different devices ranging in price from $29 up to $100. And they all vary by, again, that quality. It starts out at 1080p, and here we go up to the 4K. You'd have to spend $54 for the 4K. This has simple remote. This has the voice remote, so it costs you $49, at least $49 if you want the voice. You can see up here too, if you're not familiar with these devices, the remote is actually bigger than the device itself. So a lot of these devices are very small, that can just plug into the back of the TV, so they aren't huge boxes that you're putting in or anything there. And you can see here, here's that connectivity, how to connect it. Well, this low-end device supports 802.11b, G, and N. You can see it doesn't even support the most current standard AC. So it's, but it's fast enough for the 1080p. When you start getting into 4K, you can see up here, they start supporting the 802.11 AC dual band, and some of them have the Ethernet port, so you could plug that in. Yes, Linda?
I can't get rid of a confusion here.
Yep.
Earlier you were saying that with the smart TV, we can gain access to the streaming products we want to get.
Right.
So do we just not worry about it? But you're saying the smart TV has limitations.
Smart TVs, most of the smart, so if you bought a $200 smart TV or a $400 smart TV, it's not going to have voice remote, may not have support for 4K, so.
Okay, I don't really care about 4K. I guess right in the average user window, are you suggesting maybe that one of these devices could be added to a smart TV?
Yes, and these devices, the majority of people who buy a smart TV today buy one of these next 4 devices, because the smart TV does not have all the capabilities that they need. If the smart TV has all the capabilities that you need, fine, stay with it, and you know, then you're okay. But
is this kind of a checklist of the capabilities we would be looking for in our smart TV?
Yes, I mean this is
the capabilities that are presented.
The capabilities that are here, and then what I've listed on some of the other slides there, things to look for. So again, if it's something that you want, then you're going to have to find a device that supports what you need there.
So it's not inappropriate to consider that we may have to add something like this to get to a capability we truly need.
The majority of people that are cord cutters today have one of these devices, one of these next 4 vendors' devices. They are not using, but there are a number of people that are using just their smart TV and are happy with it. Again, what works for one person does not work for another person. So,
and I'm not all the bells and whistles, so my smart TV might actually.
Yes, or your DVD player. If you're just starting out and all you want to do is watch Netflix, DVD player is probably going to work fine there.
And I don't have time to watch any of it, so that's fine.
Oh, but you'll want to free up time.
Certain things, and then I'm retired. I want to be outdoors and doing other things.
You'll want to use some of these other things. Again, depending on your viewing and content that you want. I like a lot of sports. I like Discovery Channel and History Channel and National Geographic, and so I like watching a lot of things there. And so my needs are different than yours. And
along those lines, I'm not a sports person, but I love watching golf, and DirecTV gives me a 4-picture arrangement, a mix of everything, and I can watch everything that's going on in the golf game. So for me, I'm an half camper. You know, for somebody else, it would be very limiting.
It all depends on what you want, but this is just the devices, and we'll talk about the content because not only do you have devices, but you're going to have to figure out what content providers you're going to use. But this is what Roku has to offer, and you can see the price is $29 to $99, so they aren't outrageous, but certainly if you're looking to cut the cord, you're going to have, and your TV is not a smart TV, or you want the voice remote, or you want the 4K, or you want the faster connection, or stuff like that, you're going to have to spend some money on some of these devices. So Roku is number 1 for sales in that. The second most popular is Chromecast. Chromecast is just this little HDMI dongle here and device that hooks to the back of the TV there. Doesn't come with a remote, so you do have to use a PC, a tablet, or a smartphone as your remote. So, but the price is certainly nice, $35, 1080p. It does support 802.11 AC. If you want the 4K or you want the Ethernet connection, then you have to move up to the $69 unit here. But Chromecast is again number 2 in terms of sales and that out there. Number 3 is the Amazon Fire. Yes.
How do you uninstall?
All you do here on your TV is unplug it. I mean, there is no installation. Now on your phone, you have an app. You have a Chrome on here, Chromecast app on here. But by default, the Android phones and that all have it. So you'll see a little screen up at the top. So I can go to YouTube, or I can be watching the ESPN app, and I can just hit the Chromecast, and now it's showing up on the TV. So once you have it configured and that, it talks directly to that device. To uninstall the ESPN app, I just uninstall it from my Google phone. Laptop would be the laptop. You're typically going into the browser and you're casting from that, and so really there's nothing that you have to do there. And I'd recommend keeping that. You don't want to turn off the Chromecast capability because you may be over at somebody else's house or that and want to cast something up to their TV. So even if you don't have it, you can use other people, other devices, other locations to do things. Okay?
No, I've got it on the laptop. I don't use it anymore. I've tried to uninstall it from the laptop. It's running in the background, and you can't uninstall it.
I don't know what you mean, because like on my PC, I never installed Chromecast. I installed the Chrome browser. Now, you could uninstall the Chrome browser and completely take off the Chrome browser, but the Chrome browser is what's communicating with the Chromecast devices. So that'll be there. I mean, if you didn't want that, if you uninstall the Chrome browser and let's say you just used Internet Explorer or the Edge Microsoft browser, you can still browse it using other browsers, but by default, Chrome is got the capability to cast things. Just like if you have an Apple, Apple comes with a thing called AirPlay, where I can connect to Apple devices and send video streams and content up that way. The Google has this Chromecast capability that works specifically with their Chromecast devices.
Oh, every so often, just something new I've discovered actually on my laptop with YouTube is there's an icon I can press and then it says, ask me, cast to TV. Is that what cast is?
Yeah. Yeah, casting is taking it. So if I'm showing pictures, instead of having people or passing a phone around to people in the room, what I do with my pictures and video is I bring it up on my phone and I cast it to my TV, and the sound and the video and the pictures is up on the TV.
Along those lines, how I don't seem to be able to figure out how I can control it from my laptop on the television. And then I can't figure out how to get it off the television and get it back to the laptop. So here's a topic for another meeting.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
But at least I know
but it's possible.
TV means.
Yes, it's possible.
Does that relate to the word Chromecast, or is it just a term for?
Well, Chromecast is the name of the device. Casting is the fact of taking a tablet or a laptop or a phone and sending it to another device, whether it's a TV or another tablet or another phone or things like that.
So I might have more potential there than I even know.
Yeah, if your TV, and some of the TVs come built in with Chromecast. So, you know, where we talked about smart TVs, some TVs have these devices built in, or you'll see the TV that'll have a Roku emblem on there. Well, that has capabilities built in for some of this.
Maybe I'm figuring out how to connect the dots. I'm watching the screen within Chrome. So Chromecast is probably already part of that. And that's
Yes. We'll continue on.
I'm sorry for the
No. That's fine. We'll talk more about TVs than showing slides or videos or stuff like that. But the third most popular after the Roku and the Chromecast is Amazon Fire. And the Amazon Fire TV, they make 3 different models: Fire Stick for $39 up to the Fire TV Cube that just came out for $120. And again, the differences there is whether it supports the 4K resolution, whether it has Ethernet included, and in the Fire TV Cube case here, this also has an Alexa built into it. So voice control, you know, you can do all kinds of things with the Alexa capability there. The number 4 one out there is Apple TV, and the Apple TV works with iTunes, so if you are going to be buying movies from iTunes, but it doesn't work with Amazon. So that's where, again, these devices, all devices can't do everything. So that's where you have to figure out what it is you want to do. That'll kind of dictate what devices you might need. And the Apple, you can show your content. That's what we were talking about, from your iPhone, iPad, or Mac through a thing called AirPlay. And so it's not Chromecast. That's a Google concept. Apple is something called AirPlay to stream some of their stuff. But if you love Apple products, certainly that's a nice device to have there because it's easy to connect in that. It is the most expensive device out there. The 1080p one starts at $149. The 4K ones, they have a 64 gigabyte model and a 32 gigabyte model, $179 or $199. I use a service called DirecTV Now that we'll be talking about later. If you buy into that service and you prepay 4 months of that, which is $160, you'll get a free Apple 4K 32 gigabyte device, which you can see. If you're going to use that service, it'd be kind of a no-brainer there. You'd be coming out ahead. You'd be getting the device for free there. And actually, when I signed up back in February of 2017, Apple didn't have the 4K models available, but they had the 1080p, and I got, for signing up for 3 months worth of service, you got the Apple 1080p model there. So there's deals out there available when you sign up for some of this service where you can get some stuff attached in there. Okay, there's many other devices out there. So I listed the top 4 that you can buy and what most people have, and whether it's a smart TV or the DVD or a Roku or the Chromecast or that. But there's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of other devices that can be used to connect to the internet to stream services. If you go down some of these paths, usually those are not recommended because their services or what they connect to may disappear, and they may not be around in a year from now because things are changing that fast. So if you are going to buy a device, buy one of the top 4. Stay away from everything else. Now we'll talk a little bit about services. So you have this hardware device that's used, and you know, again, I keep going back to, you have to figure out what your needs are to figure out what hardware device may work for what you want, and then you have to figure out also at the same time what services you want, because not all services are going to work on all devices. And so you have to match up services with the devices to have everything work together and give you what you want there. So before you buy any hardware, before you buy that Apple TV or the Roku, or figure out that will my smart TV work? Well, I can't tell you if it'll work. You have to first figure out what services. If you want to do a Netflix will run on almost anything. But some of these other services will only run on certain devices. And so if you want those services, you have to sign up and use those services with the devices that it's supported on. The nice thing about the services that we'll be talking about here is most of them will let you watch what you want when you want. And we'll talk about the different options there. Most users need to subscribe to at least 2 to 4 services to get what they need. So some people go in thinking, I'm going to only buy one streaming service and that's going to give me everything that I want. Well, for most people, they need multiple services, whether it's because they want additional sports or they want additional movies or some other content there. You're going to have to subscribe to multiple services there. To find the right service that's for you, take an inventory of the must-have shows and channels that you need. Again, this goes back to what are your requirements? Do you like watching sports? Do you like watching the network channels? Do you like watching cable channels? Do you like the History Channel? Do you like the Golf Channel? Do you like the Discovery Channel? Do you like National Geographic? Do you like Channel 2? What channels do you watch? And how do you watch it? That'll help you determine what service is going to give you what you need there. And along with what service, so you have that content, is it that you want to watch it live? So is it live TV that you're looking for? Is it on demand, which means any time of the day or night you wake up and you want to watch a show, you go out and find the show, the latest episode of that show, and watch it? Or is it content that you want to recorded DVR content? So if you're used to the old days of having a VCR and recording items and then having that kind of in your queue and going back and watching it, is it the DVR content that most interests you? And myself, I want all 3 of those. So live TV, well, sports. I don't want to necessarily watch the sports a day or 2 later if it's a Viking game, because chances are somebody told me the score, and it's not as much fun to watch it once you know the score. But I watch a number of things on demand, and I like to record things. And the recording, the nightly news, I record the nightly news every night at 5:30. Well, that lets me watch the nightly news in about 10 minutes because I zip by the commercials and I zip by the content that I don't want to watch. So that's where a DVR is very handy there. And I personally don't watch any of the network shows. So I like America's Got Talent, and I like to watch that, but I don't watch it live. I DVR it, and I, like in the case now, I DVR'd last night, and then they have the results show tonight. Well, I wait until the results show is done tonight, and then I'll watch both last night and the results show. I'll watch that probably in about an hour. I can get by the 3 hours that if you were watching it live, I can watch it in about an hour. Because I don't like a lot of the singers, so I skip by the singers and the commercials. So DVR is handy there. Yeah. If you do it with a football game, I don't know what it's been said. What is there? 15 minutes of action and the entire 3 hours of TV there. Another option that you'll see in these streams and stuff like that is how many concurrent streams. And that's how many devices are you going to be watching this on at the same time. So within your house, if you have 3 TVs or 3 people that are going to want to watch a different show or different content at the same time, you're going to need services that can provide you with 3 different streams there. And you'll see that they all vary, where some of them just support 1 stream at a time, and then you pay for each additional stream. Similar to Comcast or that, where they charge for additional hookups or that, you'll have to pay additional for more streams. Yes?
Would you be able to just have 1 stream and watch it in 2 different rooms, like in 1 bedroom, if you're watching the same thing as that's playing in the living room?
Not at the same time. So I can have, let's say I have the 1 stream, I could watch it in the living room, but then when I went into the bedroom and turned it on in there, I'd have to have shut down the one in the living room. But I can also watch it, all of these services and stuff like that, I could watch it on my laptop at some times. I could watch it on my phone at some time. I could watch it on a tablet at some time. So there's different things that you can do when sports is on or that. If you don't have picture-in-picture in your TV and you got a tablet or a smartphone, I can be watching one on my phone and 1 on the TV and 1 on the tablet. You know, I mean, you can essentially have kind of picture-in-picture or three live streaming at the same time there. Yes, and some of the TVs do it. The TVs, it gets more complicated because you'd have to have 3 Roku or 3 you know, so you have some of those capabilities. But the concurrent streams, again, depends on how many people you have. So let's talk about some of the options there. We mentioned live TV. That's local over-the-air TV channels. That's actually free as long as you've got a good antenna. You can get your local TV news, sports, primetime, and that's works for a lot of people, and that may be all they need. By default, you have no DVR capability unless you purchase a separate device. And myself, for my situation, I mentioned I do like to record things. So I purchased a Channel Master DVR. I have an outdoor antenna. I get 30 plus channels there and a free TV guide to set up and record. And that's what I use for most of my local over-the-air content that I want. Yes?
Could that Channel Master DVR also be used for just watching DVDs and things like that, or is it specific to functioning?
It's just specific to local over-the-air. It also, their current model also does let you install apps, so you could run like a Netflix. So instead of buying a Roku box or some other box, you might be able to start it from there.
I'm just thinking if you rented a movie or something, can you put it in there?
There is no DVD in there. If you want to watch a DVD, you have to have a DVD player and that. But local over-the-air for people cutting the cord, sometimes that works fine there. There are separate offerings, so like the CBS, yes.
TV guide, is that like a digital TV guide on the device, or?
It's a digital TV. It's on the device. You have a remote. You can scroll through it. I can see which shows are new and which are repeats, which is more information than a standard. You know, by default, a standard digital television, if you change channels, they'll give you the name in there and stuff like that. This will give you more of this description that you're used to seeing in a TV guide or stuff like that. Also, it's a case of when I set up recordings, I can say record all the new America's Got Talent, and it'll find all of them and record all of them. So that's, the guide is kind of tied in with the recording and things like that in there.
Guide is a separate channel, isn't it, that you go to, or not?
This isn't, this is a separate, on the remote, there's a button called Guide, and this goes out to the internet, and it's a free internet service. If you're familiar with, in the old days, well, not in the old days, they're still around. TiVo is an example there. Well, TiVo would let you do over the air, but they'd charge you, I believe, $5 a month for the TV guide. And this is a free TV guide service. So there's no reoccurring cost to record or to use the Channel Master. Okay.
How much does the Channel Master DVR cost?
The Channel Master DVR without a hard drive, I believe, is $149.
You need a hard drive.
If you're going to record stuff, you need a hard drive, yes. And recently they had a sale with a 1 terabyte hard drive for $199. Again, depending on what you're getting. And again, this DVR recording, you'll see that at the time that I bought it, the streaming service that I went with did not have DVR capability. Now the streaming service has DVR capability. So again, what are your needs? What's the system do you have? What streams do you need? And how do you watch? You can get by with different combinations. Yes?
So did you just say that the hard drive could be just an external, any kind of external hard drive?
Yes and no. It's the theory. The theory is it can be, and some of them will promote an SSD or a solid state hard drive. So it's like a flash drive, no moving parts, things like that. But as some of the DVRs will have trouble with certain hard drives, so they have their preferred hard drives, and then everything else, it's kind of hit or miss. You may have problems with recording or playback. It's not fast enough. It can't keep up to the streaming, because I can record 2 channels at once and be watching a third one. So it depends on the DVR, but there's a lot of data coming and going off of the hard drive, and if it can't keep up, that's where you have problems.
The DVR actually has like a USB port in the back.
Yes, yes, yep. Okay, we'll get back to the service here. Service. The CBS has an offering. They charge $6 a month. You can get live TV and on-demand CBS shows. No DVR capability, no NFL games. But this is just an example of services there. If you're into Major League Baseball and want to see all the games and stuff like that, there's offerings, NFL, NBA, Major League. They're about $11 each. And they usually black out local games, so you're not getting local games there. But again, if that's what you want to watch, there's options out there. This is a newer offering that came out a couple of months ago, Fubo TV. It's mainly a sports, so it has things like all the ESPN 1, 2, news. It has a Fox Sports Network. It has a Big Ten network. So again, depending on what sports you're into, this is just a pure sports package for $45. There are no other cable stations or local offerings, just purely sports. These are the major streaming services that offer live TV. So what we'll be talking about now is the ones that you've maybe seen in the news or that most people are using. AT&T has an offering. It's called DirecTV Now, not to be confused with DirecTV. So people go, oh, that's Dish. You know, that's a dish you need on your house. No, DirecTV Now is another offering from AT&T that you use through these devices to connect to the internet to get your content. HuLu has an offering. HuLu has always had past shows or shows after they've been shown live, but they've recently added, well, not recently, a little over a year ago, added live TV also. Google has an offering. It's called YouTube TV. It's different than the YouTube that you go out to watch a video, but they have live TV channels that you can watch of your various cable shows and local shows also. Dish Network has an offering, and it's Sling TV. It's probably the oldest offering streaming service that's been around for maybe 5 years or 6 years, but they have Sling TV. Sony PlayStation has an offering called The View. Philo, which is a new one that just came out a little over a month ago, it's a pared down offering that has some of the cable stations, has a limited number of the cable stations, and you'll see as kind of the low-cost leader there. The nice thing about all of these is most of them have a free trial, so if you're not sure if it has the channels that you want or how well it works or things like that, you can go out and for 10 days or 30 days, whatever the trial is, you can try it out on your TV, on your devices that you have, see if it works. There's no annual contract that you're signing up for. You cancel at any time. They're not like the cable where you may have to commit to a year or 2 years service and you can't cancel. These are completely different than what you're used to there. All of these offer different channels at various prices and plans, and I'll go into some of that. You want to check to see what you need. That's why I said, figure out what channels you watch. None of them have local PBS. PBS has not signed a deal with anybody, and so they are not available on any of these streaming services there. If you like PBS, you either have to go over the air to get your stuff, or if you contribute to PBS more than $60 a year, so you're a sustaining member or more, you can use the PBS app to stream their content. So that's the way that PBS handles it. And then I put a couple of links in here, streaming TV services, where it lists some of the various options. And then PC Magazine picked some of the best services there. And I know this is kind of a eye chart here, but this is an example. If you go out to that first link, it shows the various, some of the services there and which channels. So you can see the Philo for $16 a month. Doesn't have ABC, CBS, Fox, or NBC, but it does have A&E, AMC, Animal Planet, BBC America. So again, you have to see what channels it is that you watch, which one you want. And some of them, like the DirecTV has 4 different levels that you can buy into. The first level starts at $40 a month and has, I think, 60-some channels. And if you want some of the other channels, then you move up a tier, and then each tier is like $10 more a month there.
That all being offered through DirecTV now, rather than the regular DirecTV?
Yes, what I'm talking about is DirecTV Now. So we're only talking about the streaming capability. We're not talking about a dish or that. And that's what all these services are. Okay. Sure. I've heard of it. Again, there are so many options out there, and we'll be talking about a few more of the streaming capability. So right now we're talking about live TV. So when there's if Deadliest Catch is on the Discovery Channel and you want to watch it, these are some of the services that'll have it there.
Check out Stream Media.
Okay.
You pay $200 and you pay no fee for any of the services. You can watch football games. You can even watch movies that are in the theater 2 weeks after they come out of the theater.
Now, I'll warn you.
You can actually buy it, that's fine. Yeah, but if you buy it online, you get it for $200. And just at the State Fair, I think it's in the Coliseum, they have a demo guy that actually created it. Go up there and watch all the stuff you can watch. It's incredible. But it's not easy to figure out. It takes a little while to figure it out, but you can watch any football game, any sport you want, as long as it's live streaming.
Now, I'll warn you, there are numerous services out there, and this is one of them, that technically is an illegal service. And the way they get around some of this stuff is they use VPN networks so they can't be traced and stuff like that, because there is copyright. So as an example, a football service cannot be shown legally on these devices. So if there's any device that claims and provides content there, they are doing it illegally. And they do it illegally through foreign servers rerouting stuff back. And it you know, again, you could use it, but I wouldn't necessarily count on it being in existence maybe a year from now or more. So they're in it to sell you the device, make their $200, and then suddenly if it disappears a month from now, you have no recourse. There's absolutely no recourse, anybody that you can go back to and say, I want my football games. Now, I've got...
For 3 years now.
And there's people out, and I've got people, or I know people that are using VPN to hide their location and getting their content that way, because you cannot get a new movie without it being illegal. I mean, that's the same as selling a DVD at a flea market, or that. People sold it, they clamped down on it at some point, and the quality, you have different things there. I'm talking about legal things, but we won't, but there are other services out there. And certainly you can check them out. This lists like 120 channels, so you can see if the channel that you want is provided by one of these major services here. This is the link for PC Magazine, and it shows some of the various. This also shows the concurrent streams, so you can see some of the streams that are supported and stuff like that. So that was live TV, and I know we're just about at our end here, but I'll try and cover this stuff real quick. In addition to live, you might want to record things. So the services that we talked about, the major TV services, all have DVR capability. So you can record things. That's stored in the cloud. So it's not stored in a little box, your Roku box or your Apple box. It's stored up on the cloud. There usually is a limit to the number of hours that's kept and for how long those are kept, and that varies from service to service. They vary on how easy it is to select shows and to record the show itself. So similar to a VCR, if you ever used a VCR to record things, some things were easy to set up, or some devices were easy to set up and record, others were not so easy. So again, if you're going to do that, check them out and see. Some of them will let you skip past ads. Some of them won't let you skip past ads. So you have to watch all the ads. So that's a difference in the DVR. DirecTV Now currently offers 20 hours of recording for 30 days. Storage is unlimited on the View and YouTube. However, you only have 28 days to watch it before it disappears. And services like DirecTV, they'll be letting you record more, but it'll cost you $10 to get 100 hours and keep it for 90 days. So services are changing and becoming available. DVR, do you need it? Again, depends on how you watch. If I want to watch Deadliest Catch from Discovery Channel, I don't have to record it. I can go out to the next offering that I'm talking about here, On Demand. So On Demand is all those shows are available out there at any time for me to go out and watch. So again, some of them have ads, some of them have a limited number of ads, some of them don't let you fast forward, but all these services have On Demand, but they do vary. Some of them get the content the next day, so the latest episode of Deadliest Catch played, if that played last night, some of the services, it'll be there the next day. Others, it may be a week or two or up to 6 months before it shows up on there. And some of them have a limited number of past seasons or episodes available. So Deadliest Catch, I believe, has been on for 18 years. Some of them will have the full 18 years. Some of them only have the last 2 years that you can go back and watch content on. And then some of the providers, and we'll be talking a little bit about this next, like Netflix, HBO, and Amazon, they produce their own original content, and that's available. All the major TV services, streaming services, offer some form of on-demand, and usually they're also connected. So I have the DirecTV Now. DirecTV Now also lets me individually log into the Discovery app and watch content on the Discovery, all the content that's out on the Discovery app for no additional charge there. CBS, NBC, Fox, they'll also let you watch their free content. Free episodes are out there. Load up their app and you can watch it there. And they also have some classics are also available. This is a new offering. It used to be just available on Roku devices, but now Roku has made it available on a number of other devices where it's a free service, hundreds of Hollywood hits, live 7x24 news, no subscription, no fees. Movies are all 10 years or older, and it does work on most non-Roku devices. There are services like Canopy. Canopy is, or I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it's available if your library or the university that you're going to has subscribed. St. Paul hasn't, but if you can check and see if your library is listed. If they've subscribed, you have access to 30,000 movies there. TV Land, this is a free service that's out there. So we've talked kind of about all these paid services, but there are hundreds of free services with old content and old stuff that's available that you don't have to subscribe to. Yes?
To run those on the smart TV?
Smart TV that can run the right apps. So depending on the app that you're using, and that some of them will run on, some of them have an app for Android, some of them have an app for iOS, the Apple. And again, some of the smart TVs come preloaded with 3 or 4 apps and won't let you add any other apps.
So TV Land.
TV Land?
Yeah.
You won't find that on most smart TVs, although the new smart TVs have an Android operating system, so then it could use almost any Android app. But if it's an older one, it won't work there. Yes?
How many?
What's that?
How many does that?
Again, it varies from manufacturer to manufacturer, what deals they've made with what provider.
2
So
years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years?
a year or 2 years is more realistic for the full Android.
Okay, so 3 years ago, the smart TVs probably did not.
Right. That's why you need a device or something like that. Amazon Prime is the other big one. They don't have live TV, but they do have a lot of content. So if you are a Prime member that you use for shipping and that, certainly check out their original series and their content that they have available. Netflix is certainly the big one for movies and that. Again, original series. They do have old episodes. They don't have current episodes of programs, and they do lag behind some of the others with getting the blockbuster movies and that. And it can get expensive, again, $11 for 2 HD. They do have a $7.98 option. That, again, is not HD. That's the lower quality, and so most people don't want that. And then if you want the 4K, that's $14.
Amazon does let you pay as you go to. You could pay per movie.
Yeah, you could download it. HuLu is another option for content. They do have the live TV, but if you didn't want the live TV, they have content available on demand, $8 with limited commercials, $12 no commercials. They usually get the shows the next day, ABC, NBC, CBS, Discovery, all of those. HBO, if you like HBO, I am an HBO lover there. I like their series and what's available. Usually it's $15. If you buy it standalone with DirecTV Now, I get it for $5. So an additional $5 a month, I get HBO. Whereas when I was with Comcast, I believe the last I was paying close to $20 or $25 a month for HBO. So again, you're depending on what you want to watch, you've got all kinds of options. Showtime, Apple iTunes, Vudu. And that's the end there. We'll take questions. Yeah.
I followed, as you know, the writing that you made back in 2017.
Yep.
And and following that, I found that this isn't at all complicated. That all I needed was Channel Master if I wanted the local channels, and then I needed DirecTV Now. And I went to the AT&T store, got DirecTV Now, and by the time I got home, it was already broadcasting to me. So it wasn't complicated. Now, let's say that I wanted Netflix and some of those other editions, I can look through all of the options that you've shown here and pick out what I really wanted. Let's say I wanted HBO, then I can add that. But I'm trying to say that it wasn't complicated at all to me when I went and did all this.
And what are you using for a hard drive on your channel?
I'm using a 1 terabyte hard drive, external hard drive. Plugged right into the back of the Channel Master, and there wasn't any issues there. I plugged it in, and I might say that it is redoing the hard drive at night when I'm not watching TV, because I'll see things blinking, and then all of a sudden it stops, and then it starts blinking again behind the hard drive. What I'm trying to say is that it's not complicated.
And you do 1 terabyte?
I did 1 terabyte.
Yeah, and 1 terabyte as an example probably gives you, I don't know, 150 hours or something like that of recording, high definition recording.
I wanted off of DirecTV. My wife said, "You are not getting DirecTV any longer. You decide what you're going to do."
See, mine's expiring next month, my contract, and so decisions will have to be made. Maybe DirecTV.
That it fit in nicely.
Like I was always satellite mounted on stick out of my garden, so it's not on my roof. A pole, not a stick. So I
Other questions or?
satellite.
Otherwise, thank you.
Yeah.
What is AT&T?
AT&T, I don't.
I was broadcasting. I never watched it.
They broadcast I think they're broadcasting my Gmail.
Right, yeah.